Hello, good evening. My name is Cyrus Matthew. I'm going to demo how to create a generative AI model to interpret the Bible for you. This is really an awesome opportunity to make use of technology to improve on areas where it's been so hard for us to get opportunity, like to get a way to solve some of the challenges which we have in our day-to-day life. I'm going to demo using the model which I've already created. Let's see how I can be able to do that. Okay, there we go. My apologies. It seems like it took me some time to figure this one out. Okay, so I already created the model called Mchungaji. Mchungaji is a Swahili word for priest or the anointed one. So this model is like an assistant to the priest, which normally, for instance, if you want to read the Bible, there is a number of challenges, especially in some books of the Bible, which are so difficult for people to understand. So that inspired me to think about how I can be able to make it easy for the general public or general population to be able to interpret the Bible by themselves using the generative AI. So this is not a replacement of uh, a thorough prayerful interpretation of the Bible, but it's going to make it easy for you and from anyone who want to interpret the Bible. So I'm going to demonstrate about 5 to 6 uh, areas of understanding which I gained through cargo training. It's one of them is called Retrieval-Augmented Generation. Another name is RAG in short. Retrieval-Augmented Generation. We have a structured output and few short prompting. Another one is the embedding and effective search, and also document understanding and basic genAI evaluation. So RAG, this is a powerful method which enhances the output of this model by incorporating knowledge extracted from curated biblical and Seventh-day Adventist content, ensuring that every response is deeply grounded in authoritative text. RAG, it's like a way you create like a database for all kind of information which you need, and this kind of embedded to the model which you create, such that behind the scenes, like in the backend, there is a database which this model is going to retrieve the most of the data which would inform its decisions or its responses. Another one is about structured output. So this is skills which we gained through my cargo training, and it helps to deliver responses based on the kind of the model is able to read like a JSON file. It's able to read a CSV file, making it easy for users to extract relevant information or data, so that this model will make it will be easy to kind of have its own rich source of knowledge, so that it can be able to give a response which is insightful and with a lot of context and totally informed. When we talk about few short prompting through the carefully designed prompts, this is really a guided response. It's just like when you give a question answer feedback, like you ask a question and you give a short answer, which is going to guide the model in making decisions, or in making sure like, wherever it's getting some similar questions, it can be able to answer them in the right way. And when you talk about embedding and vector search, we have what we call VMS, vector machines. The vector machines, they're in such a way that you have a storage, like a database, and in this database we have different sources, different data from which have different kind of meaning or interpretation, and the model in its own wisdom, it kind of brings data which is similar. It creates like a basket of data with similar meaning or similar output, in such a way when you are searching, for example, if you are searching a word, for instance, if you are looking for a name or a word with similar meaning, all those words will be put in the same package. It's like we have a portfolio of words or of similar meaning embedded in a given storage or a database, such that when you're retrieving information, when you're giving some interpretation, this model will rely on this kind of packages or this kind of portfolio to make its decisions. And when you talk about document understanding, this is really reading through like a huge database of documents and retrieving most of the information. And this is really in relation to the context, like what we are working on here, the biblical context or the theological. theological literature to form the past knowledge base for interpretations for this model. So basically, the genAI evaluation is the final part of my understanding of this training which I had throughout the week. And essentially, this is really meant to evaluate the model, evaluate the accuracy of the model. Is this model really giving the accurate feedback? Is it giving accurate responses? And when we do this, we give several questions which we use to try to do validation of the model. The main objective or the main goal for this was to ensure like users of all walks of life are empowered to get interpretation of the Bible so that they don't have to rely on the priest. They don't have to rely on the pastors, especially since my understanding about the Bible is like salvation is really not a communal thing. It's an individual decision, and with this, you cannot rely on anybody's faith. You cannot rely. You may get some support system from the pastor, from people who are who have been anointed, but at the end of it, you are going to make your own decisions. So having this tool by your side is really going to help you make such kind of important decisions. So I'm gonna run quick through this so I can be able to show how this is able to make those kind of decisions. So let's see. So the first part is I made sure I get all the libraries which are needed for this model. So like libraries like pandas, mostly these are what we normally use for data manipulation. In this case, because we are using this, we are running it in a cargo, we have most of the libraries already installed, or some of them, those which are not, we are going to import them. So I have most of these libraries already there. So those which are not there, I'm going to do the installation for them. So the first part, we are making sure like we download a dataset using the Cargo Hub. This dataset is a dataset which we got from Brady Stevenson. Courtesy to this guy, we really appreciate his contribution for the dataset. This is a Bible dataset. So it has all information about the Bible from Genesis to Revelation. And I used this one to train the model. So I've created this to kind of create the directory where this is going to be. Like this is the input directory is by default the cargo directory where most of the datasets should be stored to. So with I gave my new name. The new name for my dataset is Bible data. So I'm going to embed. I'm going to kind of download the data into this this directory and have it saved into this virtual space. So if you look here, we already downloaded the dataset from Cargo Hub, and this is the cargo input. It's called the name of the data is Bible data. So here, when you run this, because I already did that, it shows like it's already downloaded. And if you look here, we have all these files in CSV, Bible data, personal relationship, Hebrew thrones, and all those. Also, all these are the several components of the dataset which we have. So this is just giving an explanation of what this one did. and the libraries which you already have. Then the second part is making sure that we have the API, the key. The key, normally when you're running all these Jupyter notebooks in Cargo, we need a key which is associated with this space or the platform, and this is how we create it. So we go, I created the key in the get secret key. So we have this one already have this one embedded. So if I would like to show that, normally I go here, go to secrets, and it's already here. So then now the third step is loading and processing this data. We did the loading. This is really the process of doing the crucial step for the RAG capability. Already compare this one, and when you look here, we kind of created the function process shared text. So I'm retrieving the texts from this dataset, the paper dataset, and I'm running all this. If you look here, all the process paper text in the CSV from this given directory. I'm separating all these text into structured chunks, so I can be able to use it in the RAG-based semantic search system. So if you look here, I'm saying like if that is not in the directory, then you can give an error and say, you know what, the directory is not found. But thanks, because all this is already there. So when you see a walkthrough, all these, I've given all the possible walks, like all the possible routes through which I can be able to get it into the data directory or the input directory. And I'm getting all the files which start with this to make sure like I retrieve all the data sets. And then all those functions I will return the text for the data. Then you see here, what I'm doing, I'm running processing the shared knowledge base. This is the pipe and the text I'm saying. Ensure that the data has been attached to this, which I already did. And if those are not, then I fall back to the sample text which I already created. So these are the sample shared text, and these are kind of the comma separated fashion. So you see here. So when it shows like it was able to process 178,192 text chunks from the paper dataset, which is really awesome. Then looking at my accomplishment, I was able to get the Bible and the SDA basic text dataset from the Cargo for this. And now in step 4, I'm creating a vector database for the RAG. In this case, I create a semantic search engine that powers my model called Mchungaji, or Mchungaji's ability to retrieve spiritually aligned texts for every query. So you see, I'm looking at the working mechanism. What I'm doing, I'm installing required packages, which is the FICE, CPU, sentence transformers, and the LangChain obtained from the LangChain community. I'm making sure I initialize all the sentence embeddings using the minima LM, and also using the Hugging Face embeddings. Then I prepare my documents, generated embeddings, and do the indexing. Then I'll create a retriever. This is really what is going to help me retrieve or search and get all the semantic data or texts based on the K5. Yeah, then given a prompt, then I can be able to retrieve all the information which I need. And this is my functions. I create the names reflector database for the semantic search. So let's see how we obtain this one. So this one I'm using a GPU because when I tried to use CPU, it was taking a long time. So I had to activate the GPU. And you see now it's running quick. So I have a total of 179 patches. So they're running to create those kind of patches. Patches is like when you create like chunks of data. So those chunks of data sets are the one which are embedded to my model such that when it's going to be asked any question, it can be able to look through its chunks of data and quickly retrieve the information which is needed. So as we wait, I can be explaining more about what it means to do the few short examples for the structured output. As I explained earlier on in my introduction, the few short prompting is like you create some short questions and answers. This is really meant to guide the Gemini model so you can be able to give meaningful interpretation, meaningful responses to the questions which are given. So we really need this model to interpret given verses and give a response, an accurate response to the user. And with this, we are creating like a library of short questions and answers, which are meant to support this model so that it can stay within course to give accurate interpretations and responses to the user. So it essentially defines the input-output example showing the expected behavior of the model when analyzing verses. And this is an example, like for example, you have a paper commentary, we have the Shepherd analysis, the verse and chapter references. So this one I'm gonna show quickly how this one is done consistently. For instance, like this is, I create the Bible cross prompt, user query, book, chapter, then themes, then this. So the query, I start with the query. What does that Daniel 11 say about the king of the north and the king of the south? Who are these historically? Then I expect this one to respond or to get to the book first. Book is Daniel, then chapter is 11. So it's breaking this question into subsets. Then theme, a key figure, notable events, symbolism, interpretation of the summary, relevant cross references. So it's going to break this question into small parts and thereafter give a response based on the notable events, symbolism, interpretation, relevant cross references. And that's exactly how I'm grading my model to behave. So it will look at when you're looking at the context, it's looking at several let's look through. We're looking at the relevance and relevant cross references. We're looking at the king of the north, geopolitical conflict. We're talking about geopolitical conflict, and it's looking at north south. That's the kind of interpretation it's giving. Then the prophetic timeline. It's looking at historically Persia, Greece, Rome, end time. What does this really relate to the question? And from there, it's saying about the king of the north. Then it's looking at, oh, maybe this is Seleucidian Empire, Syria, Rome. Then who are these king northern powers? And from there, it can be able to look through all the probably the powers which existed historically. Then look at the conflict between the kings and this. This is in context of the Bible. Then the rest of the contemptible person and then conflict. And this is really how it erupts through to get the response. So now that this one is as completed successfully, let's go to the next part and see how this one is working. So now that we have given it this few short examples, these are similar. What does generative say? So structured prophetic analysis. This is how it's giving that. Then the paper that the prophets prompt template has been created. Now we want to implement this RAG-based paper insight function. What this does is just looking at retrieving the augmented generated information. So it's looking at the search semantic search, which is the RAG, and get like a structured output formatting and prompt engineering for the few short examples related to the few short examples. And this is how it works. So how we implement this, we are creating like a retriever. So you're saying like retriever is not in the corpus, then say it's none, print warning retriever is not available. Otherwise, create now generator Shabbat interpreter, which will be looking based on the argument, the first meaning. And this is it will do the searching for the document relevant, looking for the first meaning up to 100. So then it will retrieve the information which is needed from the semantic data set which has been created by the RAG. Then, so interpreter function has already been created. Then now the last step will be not really the second last step is creating now the GUI, the graphical user interface, to display the paper search and the interpretation. So this is just like showing a slot where you're going to ask the question and get the answers. And this is for these not really necessarily important because we are looking at how you create this and get to this model. We ask the model the question, and this model should answer. So based on that, we are creating a sample, like a mock-up, generating biblical interpretation to use for our case. And so now this is the GUI with like a question slot where you're going to ask a question. What does the king of the north mean in Bible prophecy? So it's generated the question, the passage query. What does the king of the north mean in Bible prophecy? It's giving us based on the like few short examples how we we train the model, it's giving us the response based on the theme, interpretation of the summary, and the kind of relevant references. So the dominant theme in this is about end-time prophecy and antichrist, and the Christ the second coming. And interpretation of the summary. The passage is a reference to the prophetic symbols found in Daniel and Revelation. The symbols related to the rise of the Antichrist, a period of tribulation, and eventual triumph of this. So it's all about it's giving us some kind of similar quotations from as references, like or relevant references is like the final conflict between Christ and Satan will be marked by deception, persecution, and the rise of false prophecies. And these are the references. So based on that, and I think this is really based on what we have given. Let's see, what did we give here? The Bible passage. This is how we are defining the widgets. But I'm looking at the responses, interpretation. Okay, see. So this is like the mock-up of generating the biblical interpretation. The next part, I need to integrate this to the embedded database. Then I can be able to get the exact relevant responses. So meanwhile we have that, you can clear and ask a different question, and that's how you continue. You can be able to probably I need to the last part I need to integrate this one to so that the end user doesn't need to see the code, because the code may not be friendly to the end user, but I'm really trying to demonstrate how we can be able to do this. But my goal is to make sure what I have to the end user is just this part where the user asks a question and gets a response. And the last part of this is testing and doing the validation. So in this, I have a number of questions which I have, for example, Revelation 13:1 to 3, who is the beast? The second coming of Christ, and judgment. All these are the sample questions which I have to test my model to make sure that my model is working the way it's supposed to. And I've created a kind of case for that, case statement for that, and have the widgets to demo that. So that one, if I want to look at the case one, analyzing case one, Daniel, it shall speak of great words of this, and I think the types of this. So the interpretation will be Antichrist power and Sabbath change. Okay. It shall speak. What does Jeremiah 7 say? This passage describes Antichrist power and Sabbath change. Okay. What about the case 2? Revelation 13 verse 3. How the word wandered after the beast? Interpreting the passage, identify the theme, time of deception, and group of worship. This passage describes the end time of deception and group of worship. And the case 3, this is about Revelation 14 verse 6. Fear God and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment has come. This is about the 3 angels' message and the investigative judgment. This passage describes the 3 angels' message and the investigative judgment. And this now, if we do want to do more validation, we expected to make sure that the theme is aligning with the real interpretation. For example, we have the theme of the 3 angels' messages and investigative judgment. The AI was able to identify the theme, 3 angels' message, and the investigative judgment. So this was a correct interpretation I identified. So lastly, this is really the model is about the Bible prophecy interpretation. It's an assistant. We call it shepherd because we normally go to those priests, the anointed ones, the pastors, to kind of get clear interpretation of the Bible. But if there is a way we can be able to get interpretation of the Bible without going directly to the pastors, we could be able to leverage that. And I think we can use AI to help us leverage the interpretation of the Bible, whereby, because this is really like personal, we can be able to do at your own time from your own home and get the right and true meaning of Bible verses. Of course, I have to really give this kind of connotation. With this, whichever model we are creating here, it's still we are training, and this does not replace the true, faith of, believing, prayerfully going or reading the Bible, prayerfully, and studying or getting the spirit-led conviction. So the Bible is its own expositor. Scripture is to be compared with Scripture as by Ellen G. White. So this is really a model which is in progress. We are going to refine and make it better, so that with the end goal of meeting the needs of the user. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for the opportunity to listen to me. I will do more improvements on this, and until next time, thank you so much. Have a good one.